Good morning. Hi, everyone. I'm Brittany Ward. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of the Oklahoma City Police Athletic League. Thank you for joining us today for our first panel with our 3-on-3 Rocket League Esports fundraiser. Today, we have a really awesome lineup of wonderful human beings in this sector who are going to help us dive into what esports is, what are the implications and applications for our young people. And today's event is sponsored by More Norman Technology. So let's go through our lineup. Let's go ahead and start with you, Sergeant Peña. Tell us who you are and who you represent. And yeah, let's get started.
Hello, I'm Sergeant Peña. I'm with the Oklahoma City Police Department. I've been a police officer for going on 22 years, and I've been with the Police Athletic League for 3 going on 4 years. So it's an awesome deal. We just started this esports program, so pretty excited to be here.
Kick it over to you, David.
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. David Hanan. I'm Vice President of Operations at Equinox Esports here in Oklahoma City. Right now, we're in the facility, excited for the day, helping out OKPAL. So whatever we can do to help the community and whatnot, we're just really excited about the new adventure that we have with our communities, and just look forward to the discussion today.
All right, thank you. And you, Mike?
I am Mike Moog Aguilar. I'm the Director of Esports and Co-Curricular Innovation for the University of Oklahoma that has been working and developing esports and gaming infrastructure in higher education to benefit both K-12 sectors and pro sectors, including the development of pipelines for career services, academic alignments, and everything in between. And so we're happy to be here too. Obviously, been supporting OKC Palno for a little over a year, and we'll only continue to grow that extension and collaboration as we move forward.
Yes. And on to you, Kate.
Hi, I'm Kate Swearington. I am the Edmond Memorial High School Esports head coach. This is kind of our program's first year, although we had a League of Legends team last year that was just kind of a small thing. I also teach Intro to Advanced Chemistry. I've taught middle school and high school in both the public and private sector. I have a husband and we play video games a lot together, so that's kind of how I got into it. And I also have 2 gorgeous little girls, both 7 and 8, and we play video games together also. So I'm happy to be here.
And holding it down for us ladies. I appreciate that. Thank you all for taking time to be here today. Just before we get started into defining gaming and esports, quickly want to talk about how this began for PAL, this journey. I will be the first person to say that as a former collegiate and professional athlete, it's super easy to get stuck looking at this through a traditional sports lens and thinking like, well, you know, what is esports? Why are you telling me to put my kid in front of a computer or in front of the TV? And it's not that. So if you're listening, if you're a parent of a gamer or an educator, this is the panel for you to be educated on. It's so much more than that. It totally mirrors what traditional sports can offer young people. And obviously these people here are much more equipped to speak about that than me. So why don't we go ahead and start with you, Mike?
Sure. So one of the biggest questions, obviously, is that a lot of people think that this topic represents just solely playing a video game. And want to make some definitions really quickly so you can start to define this a little bit better. But gaming and esports are actually 2 very different topics, but also have plenty of convergence. The easiest way to explain gaming is like playing a pickup game of basketball with your friends at a local court. You don't have to ask anybody to do it. You don't have to form a league. You don't have to have all this infrastructure, but you can absolutely still gain the camaraderie and the physical elements of it. Just go do it. Esports, however, is the NBA Finals with all that production, with all that venue operations, sponsorships, team development, sciences, camaraderie, and understanding how to mentor athletes to be bigger than themselves, sportsmanlike conduct. All these things are the 2 kind of opposite ends of it, but are absolutely here as what we represent with these kinds of events and these topics. So what does that actually look like? Well, in this world, production. This event right now that's being put on is being put on by students. Students are behind the scenes that are doing the production for this. They're the ones that are helping develop overlays. They're the ones that are piecing this together, because that's no different than if you were on ESPN watching, something traditional sports. That's an entire industry that makes traditional sports come to life. Esports is the same. You cannot be a fan of something if you can't touch it, see it, and listen to it. So to define this further is that now, yes, the time has come where these topics now have a means to help somebody get an education, to work in this industry and have a very good standard of living, and or just have it be your pastime with more and more support, whether that is going to a basketball, like the same kind of mentality of going to a basketball game and being a fan of a team. All that translates to this. And even aside all those visions of grandeur, at the core, you're talking about the ability of mentoring youth to keep them on the right track and or corrective track, and give them purpose, give them something that has no entry barrier for pretty much any discernible demographic, whether they are handicapped or fully enabled, whether they are 7 foot tall or 4 foot tall, regardless of their heritage, discipline, religious affiliation, orientation, anything. None of that matters here. It's just this topic is a great equalizer on a lot of fronts.
I think that's a great point that you make, because Oklahoma City Police Athletic League exists almost entirely to reduce or eliminate barriers to access. And so that's a critical part of our mission. So let's go ahead and move forward and talk about the current state of this esports sector. I want to know what you're working on, what has been the response of your gamers, your students, or the parents, whoever your stakeholders are in your community, and what challenges you face. So Kate, can we go ahead and start with you?
Yeah, so we have 3 sports that we currently utilize, and I'm trying to advance high school esports through those. We play Rocket League, League of Legends, and Super Smash Brothers right now, although I'm trying to add more esports to our program right now. We work with other coaches around the state through Oklahoma Esports League and through PlayVS as well, in order to play these games as a part of a league system. We are in those systems right now. So next weekend, April 3rd, we'll be going to the state competition for OESL. And then playoffs for PlayVS will be at the beginning of May. So our season kind of started in January, and it will kind of go through the end of the school year if things go well for us. My parents have just been extremely positive. They have been very supportive. They've been trying to form a parent organization for me. The kids have been really, really responsive as well. It's doing amazing things for them. They are able to really connect to the school in a new way. And not only does it motivate them grade-wise, but it makes them feel like they're part of the climate and the culture at the school. And it helps them feel like they are part of the school's mission as a whole. And that's huge for these kids, because they get to take what they love and put it into being a part of the school, just like the football kids do or the basketball kids do. Now they're a part of that environment as well. And that's been so huge for them. And the parents have loved that as well, because they see what their kids are doing. They see that their kids have been taking what they've been doing at home and putting it into something so positive at school. And just being able to take all that energy and flood it into kind of that space has just been an amazing thing. And the feedback has just been completely positive. I actually spoke with one of my principals a couple of weeks ago, and he told me that the only things that he has heard about my esports program have been positive things, nothing negative at all, which is, in the high school thing, that's a unique thing, to hear only positive feedback. So the challenges have been educating people that don't have children in the program, or kind of helping people understand what esports really is, because a lot of people do believe it's just playing video games during school. I heard that a lot as I was trying to get the program started, that they don't want playing video games in school. And so kind of that education piece and education about the video games themselves, helping people understand what is in them. And even when people think it's a great thing, they may not understand the whole production piece behind it. They don't see it as a professional thing, because they just don't understand that world. And so showing them those things and that education piece, that's probably been the biggest challenge. And then the funding piece kind of follows that, right? So getting computers, getting access to equipment, that's been a huge challenge for us. And then recognition from maybe like the school system or the outside world can see us a little bit better, some PR pieces, that's been a challenge as well. But the response, anytime people hear about us or kind of learn what it is, it's been just so positive. It's been amazing.
That's really awesome to hear. And I think it's it's an incredibly powerful thing to empower a young person and to make them feel seen. It's amazing what they're capable of doing. So we'll go ahead and kick it over to you now, Mike.
Awesome. So I love that all that momentum in K through 12 represented through Kate and development and Memorial has just been defined because it's perfect. Before we talk about all these top level things, the biggest thing that I'm after from the seat of OU and in higher education is that there's a lot of negative connotation about toxicity in video game environments. But this can also be said for social media, especially in the last year or so. We've seen massive we can call them keyboard warriors, people that are less accountable to their actions online. And one of the things that you impact that is by mentoring them younger in those areas. Now, do we want to support games that are typically more violent at a younger age? No. But at 6 years old, 7 years old, exposure to Minecraft, and if they're getting upset or frustrated at that, that's a mentorship opportunity. And starting at that age is no different than going and getting a coach in T-ball who then teaches you how to be better in regards to conflict resolution, compromise, soft skills development, sportsmanlike conduct, which will eventually evolve the scene to be more accountable to themselves because now it's regulated, now it's viewed, and now there's tangible opportunities that are coming for it, whether that is a path to pro or utilizing that talent and passion as a means to further your education if that is in your cards. So that aside, that's the cultural mission that I'm after in the long term. So everyone in this panel is absolutely critical to that because there is a flow of pipeline of opportunity that comes, starting with K through 12. And even then, Kate is only representing high schools. We still have middle school and and then obviously the K through 6 era. But then we also have career tech opportunities, obviously higher education, pro sector, and a lot of new opportunities and jobs are starting to spin up with this, whether that is educational, whether that is competition, whether that is community engagement. All these things are byproducts that are absolutely desirable, wanted, and as it now becomes a reality, demanded more upon. So in the higher educational sector, this means that when we talk about production, for instance, well, that's typically communications degrees, creative media production degrees, professional, any kind of media-based centric degrees or graphic design, things like this. All of that goes into play because it's no different than the same skill sets needed for traditional broadcast standards, the graphic standards, marketing, advertising. And then you can start coupling in things like business, international business, as this topic is also a global sport, global opportunity, and global industry. We can even go down, obviously, naturally legal and compliance. We had a massive push in all of academia and education in the last decade and a half about gamifying the classroom. This further can extend that. Then we start talking about opportunities of giving back, which is exactly what this event signifies, as we have pretty formidable energies here helping support inner city youth and programming with, honestly, to be completely transparent, very low overhead in comparison to other styles of athletics type programs that have proven themselves to be impactful of helping youth find purpose. Especially regardless of the home situations or anything. This can absolutely be a supplementation to help. And those are the things that I care about, as well as the degrees, the national championships, the national or the global competitions. Those are all wonderful additions. But if we tear all that away at the end, it's about community first. And from there can bloom all of these other additional wonderful opportunities that are both just fun or can be work that you feel very proud of, or find your place and your purpose as your career field so that you can bolster your community wherever you plant your feet and your families or and the surrounding areas.
Before we kick it over to you, David, I'd just like to say as well, there are a number of collegiate scholarship opportunities now as well. So, Mike, you guys have recently unveiled several scholarships.
Right. So we announced our scholarships at the beginning of March, and with this topic, again, kind of helping the audience understand that this is more than playing games, there are 6 primary scholarship opportunities. That goes from mentoring leadership, which would go work for companies like an Equinox, like an OKC PAL, be a teacher, understand those alignments, whether that's social work, whether that's education, whether that's in the pro sector. Those jobs are now becoming more and more desirable, more and more in demand as this industry continues to grow. Then we move on into community engagement. How do you put on a good event? An event planner, that's logistics, that's retail chain management. That's the ability to put on a well-rounded event that is decently on time, because events typically go all over the place, but building itinerary, building marketing, blocking in your logistics of your talents that you need on camera and everything in between. Then we move on into news and media. no one can be a fan of something if they don't know it exists. So you have to be that voice. You have to articulate it. That means doing event coverage, doing interviews, doing opinion pieces, helping portray who this culture and community is. Naturally, that next one is production, which is what you guys are all consuming right now through Twitch. The people that are behind the scenes doing scene switching, setting up camera gear, and then the ones in the front of the camera that are announcing games in real time, using emotional draw and telling that narrative. And then influencer style streamers, which is the funniest one for a lot of people, because that means, hey, do you understand personal branding on TikTok? I got a scholarship for you. And then finally, national or competition, intercollegiate competition in esports, where you see rivalries like OU Texas and Oklahoma State versus OU's Bedlam series, or any of those traditional powerful rivalries in traditional athletics are now here in this as well. So that's our spread from OU, and then we also are now catering to first generation gamers, so first of their families that have these passions, as a means to also augment the financial burden of coming and getting an education, and then secondarily exemplary women in gaming and esports to help deal with some of the representation concerns that are absolutely and quantifiable, to start making changes in that way. Because in the OU story specifically, we've had women involved from the very beginning, and women are a large part of the success of the OU story up until this juncture of the last 4.5 years.
Yeah. So for any parents that are watching this, there are collegiate and career path opportunities for young people outside of the context of just gaming. So I'll go ahead and let's go to the pro sector, and let's talk to you, Mr. David.
Hey, thanks a lot. So real quick, why should we embrace esports in education? I taught public education for 10 years, and then I taught at the University of Central Oklahoma for 16 years. One thing that's really exciting about esports is that you're able to reach a student who is otherwise disengaged from the school community. Also, think about the STEM benefits, and also think about how it's all-inclusive and how social and emotional learning is so paramount in esports, and also the higher cognitive level thinking skills that are required to play an esports title. There's significant research out there, and every time I read an article that deals with esports and developing their identity as a student, and also what it does for them as an individual and creating career opportunities, it's just such an exciting endeavor and field for students to embrace, as well as parents to get excited for their kids to play video games. So I just want to get that shout out. So what we're currently working on, well, we recently received an official sponsor from HyperX. We are creating an advisory board. Some of the members include Austin Hunt from the Oklahoma City Thunder, Lucas Hayworth from Oklahoma Christian University, and Kate Swearington with us today from Edmond Memorial High School, and a local business owner, Patrick McClung. So we're going to create this advisory board to kind of help us with our vision, so that we're servicing our communities and doing what's best for Oklahoma and for esports, the ecosystem in general. Our Esports Performance Academy through Equinox is STEM certified. We're really excited about receiving that badge of STEM certified. We'll be launching our summer camp series very soon. One thing that's really important and dear to us is that we create a camp that's more of a holistic approach. We're going to be talking about the physical and mental well-being of an esports athlete. We recently basically had auditions, tryouts for 2 Valorant teams, academy teams, and we'll be launching that really soon. We're excited about the vision that we have for our academy teams, is that we want to grow Oklahoma talent. And so our players are going to be able to compete alongside the best of the best in this given esport, Valorant. And it's basically the pathway to pro. So we like to think that we're creating experiences for college students and high school students, so they can actually find a job, a career opportunity in an industry that they truly just love. Our Smashcade, we're actually hosting a Smashcade event tomorrow. We're currently sitting at 7,000 subscribers and 520 YouTube subscribers, with an average of 150 to 250 online entrants. So that community is building, and we're actually going to be launching another event, a sub-tourney, in the next couple of weeks. So we're really excited about that. Rocket League, we're going to be launching a 2v2 open starting in May. We're also launching a Wednesday night Battle Royale community night, where we're going to offer in-currency game and some prizes from HyperX. We're creating internships for our college students. And I think that we believe that we like to create a hands-on and relevant real-world learning experience for them through these internships. And then we'll be opening up our 6,000 square foot esports arena down at the Oklahoma City River Sport District. So we have quite a bit going on. We're excited about the future for Oklahoma and for the future of esports.
Yeah, we're excited too. We're so lucky as a grassroots organization to have great leaders like you in our community that it's not, I mean, yes, you're a business and yes, you have to be business minded, but at the root of it, it's community based. And we're just so thrilled to be able to work with you guys.
Yep, love it.
So Joe, we're going to go to you last. And do you want to talk a bit about our program and how it began and where it's at now and what challenges you faced?
So our program now, this is kind of a big thing. We're put on this fundraiser, and everything that's going into this goes back to our kids, and that's what our program is about. Our program is sports based, and we have football, volleyball, soccer, basketball, cheer, and now esports. So the journey with our esports program has been an exciting journey, and so here we are now.
I'll never forget when you presented this idea to myself and our former executive director, and he and I both were like, "What? Like, why are you presenting this as an idea, as a way to connect with our young people?" It certainly, that seems like the opposite of what we're trying to do. And the more that we were present and could see the connections you were being able to make with our young people during a pandemic, I mean, total convert. I'll be the first to admit I'm a total convert. And hearing from the parents and the young people firsthand how important it's been to be a part of a community and being able to make friends. I know you've done an awesome job creating a safe and fun environment that I'm so excited to be a part of to continue to develop. So you've done an awesome job, Joe.
Thank you. And that is a big challenge. When I talk to parents about esports, it's the old school way of thinking, oh, it's just video games. And when you explain to them about all the great things that are going on, that there are opportunities to go to college, there are opportunities to be a pro at this. And it's not just gaming, it's the whole idea of like being in esports. So we went to middle schools a couple of years ago, and at middle school kids, I mean, they're at that crossroads. They don't really know which way direction they're going. And so the great thing about PAL is through sports and now through esports, we get to be a part of these kids and help them make right decisions. And that's through sports and through esports. And it's the mentoring that they may not see, but it's the character things that we're trying to build so they can get to the next level. We have our 6 character words, and we follow that. And you see that when these kids get online, they're used to, being behind a computer and not being accountable for things that, sometimes they do or put out there. And I'll be the first to admit, I'm also guilty of that also, because when you compete, I mean, your emotions come out. So what we do, what I've seen, and I've learned this also, is that, we still have to have the same character traits as anything else with sports. We still have to have good sportsmanship. We still have to have character, integrity. We still have to have all those things. And at this age group with middle schools, that's what we're building on, is those character traits. And through our Discord, we built this Discord to where it's just our PAL kids, our PAL officers. It's our mentors, our volunteers. It's a place they can get online, and it's a safe place. They don't have to worry about outside people coming in. It's their own community. And the great thing about that, and that's kind of what, kickstarted this to the next level, is that these kids have taken ownership of the Discord. This is their community. They've started other kinds of events, not just gaming. So they get on and talk, and they get to meet kids from all the schools, not just the school that they're at. So they're building their own community, and it's just great to sit back now and just watch these kids. They own this, and it's their program. And there's nothing better to see that.
Can I add to that?
Mhm.
So that's actually a really cool question to ask. Is that so Sergeant Peña just shared what the community evolved into after creation. And I imagine every single one of us has our own stories in this topic of what we've seen in community growth organically happen. And I'd love to share some too, because I think that makes it more personable and more real of the byproducts that come out of these types of programs. For me at OU, I have seen students that are the very core demographic that struggle to ever leave their dorms outside of getting food and going to class, now have a social environment where they are seen in public, where they do have people to talk to, where when they have problems and are feeling in a dark place, they are not alone. And those are our only growing concerns, especially after a year where all of us were isolated, to have that camaraderie, to have that common ground. And the beauty of it is that it isn't defined by skin tone. It isn't defined by which major they are. It isn't defined if they're from Oklahoma or from Texas or from California. None of that matters. It is that love, that game, and that in that community and culture that's in signifies in it. And that's the most beautiful thing to see, because everybody wants to belong to something. Even the introverts still need social interaction. They just need it in different ways than what the traditional norms would define it as. So I would challenge both Dr. Hanan and Kate to, I'm sure you both have scenarios, and whether it was at UCO, seeing that very thing happen. I'd love for you to share something to make this just more real.
Yeah, I can definitely share something. This year, I had a student. I have lots of students from various ability levels. And I don't just mean in playing the games themselves. I mean in the classroom, and like you said, there's no barrier to playing esports. So a student that might have a barrier, but they come to esports because this is a place where they can belong. And I've had this parent of this kid who stopped me and said that she refuses, she will never let my esports program die. She's going to do whatever it takes, because this is the first time her kid has ever had friends at school. This is the first time her kid has ever felt like talking to their teacher. And then, this teacher, there are other teachers in the school, and this kid doesn't ever talk. I have this kid in my intro to advanced chemistry class as well. And they talk in my class to all the other kids, whether they're in esports or not. And we have a class community. He's part of it, but he's not in any of the other classes because he feels safe in my class, because he's a part of that community in esports. And that will grow and help him to do those things in the other classes too. And to feel like I've helped that kid change, and have a place at school where he can go and have people he can hang out with. Like that was huge for me to see that. I mean, last year I made these little Christmas ornaments for my team because they were the very first team ever in Edmond at all, really. And I had a kid who had lost his dad, and he kept that ornament with him, like as he went around the school with the school day, because it meant that much to him. Like it means a lot to them to be a part of the school and be a part of a community of people that love what they love, and can really it's really affirming for these kids. And so that's one thing that that's what makes me want to do it, right? Like none of the other stuff matters as much to me as that one kid who has something now that they didn't have before. So that's why I love this. There is no other reason why I would do this at all. That's the only reason.
Story gave me chills, I'm not gonna lie. It's like,
Yeah,
I got all of my feels on that one. That was really good.
Dr. Hanan, you're muted, I think.
Yeah, I can't hear you.
Still quiet. Did you hit the mute button on the...
No, it's not muted.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah,
There
we
you go.
can hear you now.
For some reason, it switched over to my other microphone. All right. So a couple years ago, I took a group of students to Kansas State University for a Smash tournament and a CSGO tournament. And Tyler was a young man who's disabled, and he's partially disabled in his left hand as well. And he has a modified controller he uses to play Smash. And what was so cool and heartwarming is that here he is, physically disabled, but the students were all cheering him on because he made it into the top 50, and how incredible it was that they all, gender aside, physical disability aside, they're all gamers and they want what's truly is best for each other. And that was a really cool thing to see. One of the things that did kind of concern me, and it was one of the reasons why we recently started a podcast, and we recently brought in three female gamers, and talking about the challenges of being a female gamer in this world. Well, when I was at Kansas State, there was a gentleman walking around, an older gentleman walking around, and he was basically checking in with all the game captains, all the universities. And our team co-captains were Ashley and Haley, and two female captains. And guess who were the last two people approached in the way of like, are you the team captain? Are you the team captain? Are you the team captain? Well, guess who the last two people approached was? Ashley and Haley.
Yep.
That can't happen. So here at Equinox, we've started a podcast series. Basically, we're going to bring Tyler in, have a podcast with him, talking about what it's like to have the challenges that, physical challenges, and how you are being received to the general community in the Smash. And then we recently had a podcast with Ashley Haley and a friend of hers just recently, and that will be going live fairly soon. And it's just really kind of cool to see esports through a different lens. And that's just one of the things I think that we like to try to make a difference.
What is your podcast called, and where can people find it?
We will be launching that probably next week, and I can post it via social and also make sure that you have a copy of it too. Yep.
I think it's really important to note that representation matters, unlike every sector of life, right? It's incredibly powerful to see somebody who has the same abilities as you, maybe has the same gender or skin tone as you, doing things that you want to do. It's incredibly empowering. So, Joe, is there anything else you wanted to add to our creation story?
Just the stories are great. The greatest thing is watching the light bulbs go off in the kids, and the small victories, giving them a purpose to where they're just not floating around, and a reason to get out of bed and be accountable. I've got to get up and get my schoolwork done and have good grades so I can be a part of this. And this is just transfer. I mean, this is the same thing you see in traditional sports. With these sports is these kids are now focused on their grades, and they understand that if I want to take this to the next level, I've got to have good grades. I've got to apply myself. And then when we have our teams, now we have to be accountable to our teammates. We have to be ready to play. We have to work on our chemistry. We have to practice. We have to show up. So it's those things that keep us going, and it's great.
Joe, I also wondered if you could tell us more about our specific program. So what games are we playing? Where do we project our program to grow? Where is it going to evolve to? So what are we playing now?
So we play Rocket League. That has been our core game. And when I first heard about Rocket League, what is that? So we got out, we started playing, and the cool thing about Rocket League is cross-platform. It went free right before school started, and any console, any Switch, Xbox, PC, it didn't matter, just as long as you have an online service, you can jump on and play. And so it's been a really great start for us. So where this goes now, I hope it keeps growing. I'd like to see all of our schools have teams get in and competing, and just keep growing, because like everyone said, there's no boundaries for this. Anybody can get on. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter. Just as long as you want to compete or be a part of this community, and just get on. So that's where we want to take this further.
And I'd like to tag team onto that and talk a bit about how this has evolved into a very real application of a production, right? So eventually we'd like to see this ecosystem of high school students and college students helping our young people, upskilling them to be able to run a weekly POW broadcast covering our weekend sports events. And so student-led, student-made, super empowering, but also being a part of that pipeline, that continues on to either tertiary education or potentially a career. So I think that that's a really cool thing that we're looking to develop too. So I guess I have a question as a traditional sports lens human. I wanted to know, Dr. David, you talked a bit about physical well-being of an esports player. What does that mean, and what does that look like?
Physical well-being basically is make sure that we have this series we do Wellness Wednesday, where we talk about tips and tricks that you can do to keep yourself healthy, whether it's maintaining proper posture while playing, or good wrist movement with the mouse or controller, just health and wellness of our bodies. And one thing that there's a lot of research going into is the consumption of high caffeine drinks, and consuming less of that, and what it does to the body to consume such a high amount of caffeine. And that's part of the wellness portion of it as well, because we have to take care of our bodies. Because how many esports athletes do you know that are over the age of like 25? Not very many, right? So it could be a high stress endeavor to take on. And so there needs to be more research into the physical and the mental aspects of playing esports. And that research is being conducted. So it's really exciting. So see, there's another career opportunity: sports medicine, esports medicine. So it's a whole entire ecosystem, and this is a legitimate career opportunity. So we're excited about the future of what we can do in that endeavor. So,
does anyone else have any wellness tips and tricks for gamers?
I can attest that when I first started sitting down and playing and spending a lot of time, you feel it. You have issues with your neck if you're not sitting right. You have issues with your hands, your wrist. You do have things that you have to take care of yourself with. One cool thing that we did was a yoga video, and that's on our Discord, and that helps. But you have to take care of yourself. Physical health and fitness is a big thing. And if you don't stretch or eat right or take care of your body, you're going to feel those things too, just like with any sports. So that's something that I do believe in.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the professional scene, and they always show the gamers, like they'll have a little camera on them. You'll notice now that they take care of themselves. They really do. It's very important, because the organizations understand that someone who takes care of themselves is going to be better. They're going to be better at gaming. So I would say for my high schoolers, one of the big ones is a sleep schedule. Having a very consistent sleep schedule is really critical, especially this year when there have been some virtual students staying on that schedule, so that just having a very consistent time when we go to sleep and time when we wake up is so critical to someone's health and well-being. And then getting out and exercising as well. It makes a difference when you play your video game. You feel better, and you'll move your hands faster, and you will do a better job, because your mind and your body are part of the same thing. And so when you take care of one, you take care of the other. Well, especially when you take care of your physical body. And that's in academics as well. It's really understood that if you take care of those things, then the academic piece will come along as well. So
first of all, I think all of us need that sleep schedule. Please break down. So can you please
Yes.
help us all get on a good wellness track? Because there is a very, very real thing called gamer hours, which is very more nocturnal. And that's not necessarily a good thing, but that's part of the stuff that we evolved through impact and education. And Brittany, there is a question on Twitch that I can ask in a second, if you'd like me to go ahead. So this is definitely for Kate and myself. The question is, what exactly is the Oklahoma Esports League, which you're welcome to talk about, and what other Oklahoma public schools are starting up their own esports team? So do you want to talk from the perspective of K through 12 about what you're seeing across the state?
Sure. So the Oklahoma Esports League is open to all public high schools, and that anyone that's any public high school that can have a team can join. It is just a bunch of high schools that are trying to put together something for the state. So it truly is, it's a community organization. It involves business and college and K through 12 energies. So, well, really just high school energies. I shouldn't say K through 12. It's really just 9 through 12. We have thought about expanding into middle school, but we're kind of busy with what we have going on right now. So this year will be our first year to do a state tournament, which will be next weekend on April 3rd. We currently have quite a few games that we play, but we're always, because esports is something that evolves, we understand that we have to evolve as well. So we're constantly checking in and making sure that the esports that we play are relevant and that we drop whichever ones don't have enough participation. And we always are considering adding new ones that would be a part of that. So I wouldn't be able to name off all of the schools, but we have several. We have Tulsa Union, we have Broken Arrow, we have all three Putnam City High Schools, OKC Grant, and then we have small schools. So it's not just big schools. We have small schools as well. Stillwell, Geronimo, which is a top seed in Rocket League, by the way. So just because you're a small school doesn't mean you're not going to be able to compete with the big schools. Then there's Atoka, and Atoka just had their own invitational as well. So some schools are kind of doing their own thing too and trying to bring that in. And then let's see. I know we played Salina. We actually play them for our first round of playoffs on Monday at 4:00.
Good luck.
So I'm really nervous about that. Actually, that's kind of on my brain right now. It's fine. We're fine. But yeah, and then a ton of schools have Smash. So for Smash this year, Smash has been a little different because, and really they have probably been impacted the most because Smash is such a 1v1 person-to-person game. So for Play VS, we've been able to do that online, but we haven't had any of our usual regionals through Smash. So what's going to happen is every school is going to bring 5 kids to state, and we're just going to have a huge playoff at state. So, and that's Oklahoma Esports League. In a nutshell, we play Oklahoma Esports League's kind of time frame is meant to cater to specifically Oklahoma schools. So we start at the very beginning of January, like when all the schools get back, and we always try to end before spring break because there's testing after spring break. So we're always trying to make sure to play nice with all of the administrative things that need to go on. That way it fits really nicely into your school schedule. And that's really one of our goals too. We want it to be easy for schools to be a part of it. But yeah, it's probably been the most consistent thing for us has been Oklahoma Esports League because it's also free for schools to join. So it really lowers the barrier for Oklahoma schools to become a part of it because like Play VS, HSCL, which is something I've considered in the past, and others are a paid opportunity. And when we have no funding, and we're kind of a grassroots organization ourselves, honestly, because the only money I get is whenever a parent decides to contribute, which does happen. It does happen. But that is, I mean, I have kids, I know we're Edmond, but we still have kids that can't afford, and those kids want to be part of the esports program. And so that is a way for us to be able to participate without those barriers because of cost. So I do love Oklahoma Esports League quite a bit.
Mike, if I can jump in real quick before you, just to piggyback off of Kate. So that's sort of where we see our function within this pipeline as well at the grassroots level, is we certainly want to be that group that's going in and advocating for esports in Oklahoma City public schools. But it does take a village, right? We're going to need champions at schools to step up that want to be that coach or be that person that's going to help lead the charge. We can provide resources, but at the moment, it's me and Joe. And so, I guess this is me calling out some of our educators in OKCPS, but we're here to help you. We want to help you. We're not going to just throw you to the wolves and say, okay, good luck. We have great partners. We have great people on this panel, that want to build this community and have resources on hand to provide you with almost a step-by-step guide on to how to do this. I just wanted to throw that out there before Mike.
Yeah, and so I'll help kind of glue all this together a little bit. So seeing the K through 12 energy is significant and important, and really kind of, again, how do we change the culture? We start younger. And build, well-rounded and comprehensive programs that do cater to the broad audience of this topic. And when so a little bit of Oklahoma's history in regards to the collegiate timeline. So colleges or universities in Oklahoma didn't really start staff-led initiatives until 2016, and that's when we first saw the first kind of energies coming out, which was OU. That was me. And then we saw Rogers State, we saw UCO, we saw even Oklahoma City University, Cameron University, ECU and Ada, Mid-American Christian. They're all Oklahoma Christian. So now we're pushing past well over 10 University of Tulsa, another one, well over 10 universities with institutionally elevated support, at some level, whether that is venue, whether that is dedicated staff, whether that is scholarship, whether that is academics, or all in between. And in the grand scheme of the entire United States and Canada, when I first started in 2016, there was less than 25 universities, and only one of them was a Division I Power 5, which was Utah. Now in 2021, we are pushing well past 150 with institutional support, which means that is more than likely 150 universities that are offering some additional incentive for you to come under this banner. So as we see K through 12 gain momentum, you're seeing higher education gain momentum too, to connect those dots, to connect those pipelines, to give those opportunities in this topic. And again, to answer one of two questions: do I want to work in this industry as a path to pro, or am I passionate enough that I want to utilize it as a means to augment the cost of getting an education? Both of them are valid questions. They can both individually be yes or no, or they can both be yeses. And there's nothing wrong with that. So there's plenty of athletes that go into collegiate athletics and don't go pro. And they use that talent and the skill set as a means to get an education. This applies here too. So in Oklahoma, over 10 universities. In the US and Canada, over 100, quite a substantial number, 250 plus now. And they're all over the place. It's not just centralized in California. It's not just in New York. It's not just in the, specific sectors of this North Texas. It is pretty spread out across all of continental US and even in Hawaii. So that's a significant other, should hopefully inspire a lot of parents, because the goal, I think the majority of us are at this juncture, what we're after is helping people to stop dismissing the topic. If we can just get to that point here in the next year where people are like, oh, that's a waste of time, it's stupid, and at least saying, hey, we need to balance this out. It's not that I necessarily am a fan of this or all in on this yet, but I need to at least stop dismissing it without it giving a chance to actually think about. Because just opening the door a little bit, you'll see that you will have gains, especially, if you want to support your children, just like with anything else extracurricular, whether that was band camp or choir or traditional athletics. This transcends that opportunity as well. And we all know that when kids are supported on a multitude of fronts, they rise to the occasion and then some. And plenty have that drive without it, but why? Especially when they're already in this. So no, do we want to support somebody playing, as Kate was talking about, would we want to support somebody playing a game 12 hours a day? Absolutely not. The easiest way to attribute the strain of an esports player, especially like something in a first-person shooter or even a strategy game, is like looking at an Excel spreadsheet where all the fields are full at 8-point font and none of the fields are the same content. You would get tired in 5 minutes looking at that. That's the kind of strain and mental neuroscience that goes into esports, and it does burn calories. It does make you tired. And so after a certain period of time of continued play, you have diminishing returns. You're actually hurting yourself. Just like if you were training in a gym and you go too far, you rip muscles, you tear, you will get injured more than growing muscle and increasing your endurance. So so that's the collegiate sector in Oklahoma and abroad.
If it's okay, if I could just also say that if there are any teachers out there that need help or want help, I have a class now. I have a 7th-hour sport class, just like all the traditional sports do.
Wow.
So if you need help putting that together, I've done that before. I've talked to my board of education and I've gotten help. And a lot of it came from people that are on this board as well. Dr. Hanan helped me. Mike helped me to kind of put all this stuff together. But there are people out there that will help you, and I will help you too. I can help you talk to administration. So if you need that, that's great. And I understand that it's going to be difficult at first, but I will help. So I'm kate.swearington@edmondschools.net. I will help you. So
thank you. And David, just quickly, I think from also an educator point of view, being recognized or certified as a STEM based programming opportunity, I think is a great selling point for educators. You have access to funding for a lot of things through that as well. So what does it mean to have a STEM certification?
Basically, what it means to us is that we're going to focus on the student learning because, when I was at UCO, one thing I always told the administrators when I was at meetings is that first thing I would say is the walls of the institution were built for the students. And what we decide today, may it have a lasting impression of the benefit for the student. Well, that's what we're kind of doing for STEM. STEM, means several different things to people, but to me, it means doing the right thing for the student. So we can actually have a holistic approach to their education and what they want, what their expectations are, and let's help guide them and help direct them in the career path that they want to. So yeah, STEM is a significant thing for us, and we're really thankful to get that badge of honor. But basically, to me, we're going to do the student right. We're going to do the team right, and we're going to focus on what's best for them.
Is there any other questions on there, Mike?
Nope.
All right. Well, from a PAL point of view, I just really would like to say thank you to you guys and Kate for taking time to sit down and talk to us a bit about esports and what a gamer is versus an esports professional. And I think that this has been really beneficial for me, but hopefully to all of our viewers who maybe they're new to gaming, or maybe they have a young person in their family that's interested in it. And what does it mean if I support them, or what does it mean if I don't? So I think that's been really helpful and a huge educational piece for us. So any final words or comments? We'll go ahead and start with you, Joe.
I'd like to say, I'm blessed to have this opportunity, and our mission at the Police Athletic League is to bridge the gap, bridge the relationship between the youth, the community, and the police. We have 4 full-time officers, and we cover all 12 middle schools and some elementary schools, and we also have volunteer officers that come in and help coach our sports. And the biggest thing is building a community, building that trust with the community, with the youth, and with police officers. So we have a great group of police officers in PAL, and I just can't say how much, I'm blessed for this opportunity. So just thanks everybody, and I can't see how this keeps going.
On to you, Kate.
I'm just really happy to have all of that I do have right now. I'm always pushing for more, but that's just my personality. I want the kids to have as much as they can have. And I love that my kids have this opportunity. For me, that's really always what it has been about, is what my students get out of it, my kids get out of it. And I mean, that's why I'm a teacher too, because I want those kids to have opportunities. I feel like education is one of the great equalizers. It helps kids of all types. And this is my way to help kids that weren't in it before, and now they can be a part of what they feel like is their education. And so I love high school esports. I've always wanted to do it. Even when I transitioned from middle school, my plan was to become a high school esports coach. And it's great to see that happen. So.
And on to you, Mike.
And again, I'm loving the word. It's one of my favorite words. Opportunities. There's so much to be explored. There's not even a finish line yet. And that's the wonderful thing about this topic. And anyone that thinks that there's a finish line, I challenge you to reevaluate what a finish line actually is, because we're all still just getting started. The impacts of this are yet to be fully realized. The growth potential of it is still not even a mainstream topic in regards to revenue stream. So the growth of this is monumental. And the other thing that I always like to make a point, because so many people are fixated on the more virality of the word esports and gaming in the mainstream. But most people think esports is a topic that's relatively new, maybe a decade, maybe 2. Well, esports was actually birthed in 1972. And that's a big thing to realize, because then, well, where has it been all this time? We didn't care. And it didn't mean that it was stopping. It is inevitable that it would get to this point, because more and more people were getting access to it. It's easier to obtain. People can touch it without having to go through a long list of things to do it. And so now it makes sense. But again, to pay some respect to the history of this topic, it is not new. It is absolutely quite old. And all we're doing is now elevating it into the forefront, into the mainstream, into these opportunities. And that's why it represents such a formidable topic, not only for now, the past, but also absolutely in the future. And it's hard to even think about what 1 year from this is going to look like, more so even 5 or 10. So if you're interested in anything that we talked about in regards to the University of Oklahoma, ou.edu/esports is our new home for that, which is a full program overview, scholarships overview, and see some of the faces of students that are doing that work and building equity in themselves and helping steer one of the most formidable university brands in the region.
Yeah, thank you. And on to you, David.
Great, thanks. I love the word opportunity as well. That's one of the things that we're doing with our STEM badge and being STEM certified is that we like to think that we're going to create real life situations to help students learn and for them to become lifelong learners and lovers of this new world that we're thrust into, esports. So hopefully what we can do is use those concepts that the students learn in individualized coaching or in group coaching sessions so they can spark a passion for their future. Because I would like to think that that's my mission, is to create opportunities for our high school and college students so they too can get into the field of esports and find out what they love to do and how they can actually create a career out of it. So really excited about that. So if you guys need to get in touch with me, it's david@equinox.team. And we'd love to continue to engage with our communities by creating events for all of us to get together and just enjoy gaming. And when we get the new esports arena constructed and online down at the River Sport District, I think we're really going to be excited about what we're going to be able to do for Oklahoma. So just really excited about this grassroots effort. And it's so cool to see so many people get involved and just share their experiences and their knowledge so freely. That is such a cool place to be, is that we're all in this together and we're here to support one another. And that's a good place to be.
Yeah, it's so synergistic. It just feels right. So again, thank you all so much for being here today on this panel. We hope you've enjoyed it. Again, this was presented by Moore Norman Technology Center. And if you need information about our PAL programs, you can visit okcpal.org. So this is Brittany Ward signing out. Thank you.